Hi guys, Tech here. I hope you're enjoying Endless Delve as much as I am. Before we get started, if you do enjoy the content, it really helps me out if you consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Those do really help me grow as I am still a young channel. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So where I'm at currently in Delve is I'm level 86. I have very bad gear for the most part. I do have one very good item that is dropped for me in Solo Self-Found. I kind of luck-sacked into dropping a Kingsguard that I was able to 6-socket and 4-link, which in a normal league that doesn't sound like much, but in Endless Delve, that Kingsguard's a very defensive chess piece, which is a very good thing. This part of the tree looks normal. However, because I haven't got a good shield, I actually added on this section of the tree instead of going up here and getting all these fire nodes. So I'm losing damage, about 10% damage, to come down here and get Divine Shield, to get Barbarism, and to get Aggressive Bastion. Now, Aggressive Bastion is specifically good because I have Kingsguard. If you do not have Kingsguard, but you have a crappy shield, this is still a good option. However, it's a better option if you have Kingsguard because it has the flat 5% chance to block, which is huge. It's really propelling my block chance up quite significantly. Gives us another way of generating endurance charges besides the starter shield. The starter shield is fantastic for generating endurance charges. However, it has basically no defenses on it, which is bad as you start progressing deeper and deeper in the delve and armor becomes more and more of a thing. It is a way to circumvent where you still get the advantage of the endurance charge generation. Now, the other thing to mention, if you're struggling with spells and your spell block number is not this high, just use the starter shield. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It has 30 spell block, so you won't even have to get like any of these nodes right here. It's just, now if you want to get more base block, you can always do the same thing and come down here and you'll get more base block. But that starting shield is actually good enough to carry you the whole way through on the spell side, and with a little bit of work or a lucky neck anoint, like if you got a talisman to drop, Command of Steel on it, so you can get weapon artistry, pseudo, which by far is the best. This is by far the best of the possible ones, or Command of Steel, right? If you could get any of those, you would be sitting very good, even with the starting shield. So it doesn't have to be 75, but the closer to those numbers you can get, the better. The other optional alternative, if you don't want to invest in a shield at all, and you could actually save a bunch of points here. So you could save these points and these points here, and just go the starting shield, and you're at, it has 30, so you're at 63. So I guess you need a few of these points. These are actually more scaling. So yeah, that would put you over cap. Both of those would put you over cap, basically. So that's another option as well, is you can go into either one of these. This one has reses on it too, which should not be discounted in this league, as it's very hard to get good life and good reses on a piece of gear with the amount of fossils I found anyway. Now I haven't been specifically fossil farming, and you can absolutely get more fossils than I have found. I've kind of just been going to make it work. The other thing to note is I did go Mistress of Sacrifice. Now, if you did not go the Mistress of Sacrifice route, I would not worry nearly as much about block as I personally am worrying about block. right? So these kind of nodes, not that big. If you're Commander of Darkness, you already have basically the reses I'm getting, but maybe you just go that instead of like these two. I will say block is a very, very big survival tool, because essentially how block works, especially if you have some mechanism of recovery, which we do because I have that node right there. So I'm getting 20 base life and 20 mana every time I block. I'm blocking 72% of the time I'm getting hit by melee, 64% of the time I'm getting hit by spells. If those numbers were higher, or if I luck sacked into an Aegis, it would be significantly better. The big thing about Aegis is actually not the recovery on ES. The big thing for the Aegis is the +5 to cold res, which is you're out of 100. I heard Nugi explain this yesterday and it's very eloquent. Out of 100, if you're blocking 72% of the time, you're not taking damage over 7 times out of 10 or 70 times out of 100. But the time you are taking damage, you're taking full damage. The way reses work is if you would have taken a full, let's say the enemy did 10,000 damage. Well, instead of taking 10,000 damage, if you're at cap, you're taking 2,500 damage. Then if you are at 76%, like I am on fire, then you're only taking 2,400 damage. So the more damage incoming, the bigger of a deal over resistances and the bigger of a deal block and spell block become, negating damage. The other thing, the reason I use the word negating damage is because it works specifically with Divine Shield. So Divine Shield gives us energy shield per second, which basically we're capping it out because we don't have that much energy shield. So it gives us a secondary layer. As long as it's not chaos damage that we're taking, it gives us a higher life pool or effective health pool than what we actually have. Now, ideally, we would, have a chest that had life to ES. The other thing is, this node is very, very, very good for that reason as well. Another possibility that you can consider, or having any survivability issues at all, is either going down and getting block stuff. The other thing you can do is you can scale armor here, or ES and armor here and here. Those are not bad options, especially if you've dropped heavy armor pieces. Armor is the best physical damage preventer, even though my armor is not very high. I'm at like 3,500 armor. It is a very fantastic way because there's a lot of physical damage in Delve of surviving. Now, the one thing I will say about this shield is it does have a 7% additional physical damage reduction. You can also always run a Chaos Golem to even further that, where you can get 10 to 15, so on. So even though my armor is low, my physical damage reduction is at like 47%, which is fantastic. And hopefully I'll get a good helm that has decent enough colors that I can make it work. Or I'll get a better glove or a better boot or something where I can make my links work and get out of this, which has no armor on it. Even if I had to go to a pure ES helm, that's not the worst possibility. Like a pure ES helm is fine because that helps us on the flip side of the pool. It helps us with being tanky. So hopefully I can drop like a high level hubris and defense roll it and get like a 200 plus ES helm, because that gives us 5k effective health pool at that point, which is not bad. But Kingsguard is very, very big as far as survivability, because a Mortal Call is going to trigger, you're in turn going to lose all your endurance charges, which you almost instantly get back. and you're going to gain 300 to 500 life, depending on where you're at. At base, it's 300 life. Kind of the next couple of nodes I'm planning on. I'm going to grab this spellblock node, then I'm going to get this endurance charge, and this endurance charge. That way I have a huge pool as far as survivability options with Kingsguard specifically, because Kingsguard's fairly new. I'll be at 5 endurance charges. I'll get an extra 1% of regen, which is fantastic. And I'll have this endurance charge as well as getting this guy and this guy, assuming we don't get a better shield. That puts me at 69% chance to spell block, which is pretty fantastic. Another option here, the other thing we could always do, because damage is pretty okay, is we could always get out of these guys and drop a nerve. It is a DPS decrease, however, it is not the end of the world. It's about an 8k DPS decrease. And then we could go ahead and pick up those two, as well as 1 endurance charge. If you're only going to get 1, it's probably this guy because the regen is nice. But that's something to think about. That's something that could possibly benefit you. And I hope you are having a wonderful time in Delve League. I will catch you guys on the next one.